do one, I'm on scene. I'll be assuming Caroline Street Command. I got a 2.5-story wood occupied multiple dwelling. I got heavy fire from the second floor Charlie side. I have an exposure on the Delta side. We have one line stretch not in operation yet. Primary searches are underway. Status of the fire is doubtful. One passing command. I'm on the first line. Service speed advised. We're on scene. 2-story wood frame. I got heavy fire from the Alpha side.
Welcome, fans of the Volley Chief. Once again, I'm returning to Connecticut. I know I'm trying to get somebody from all 50 states, but I have a lot of connections in Connecticut, and I feel like every 2 or 3 episodes I just return to Connecticut. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable when we're speaking the same language. So my guest today is Ryan. I've known Ryan for years now, and we work in neighboring towns in our full-time jobs. So because of that, we've bumped into each other here and there. But I'm going to let Ryan introduce himself, explain what department he's from, the size, and all the good details. So, Ryan, take it away.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. So, my name is Ryan Litwin. I am a fire chief in Bantam, Connecticut. We're a small town fire and EMS department. We're actually part of the town of Litchfield, Connecticut. It's a 56 square mile town, 8,000 population, plus or minus. It's in the Northwest Hills of Connecticut. It's a big transverse population from the city of New York. A lot of weekenders, leaf peepers, stuff like that. Especially post COVID, a lot of New York City people have moved into the area like full time. So chief there, we have 4 departments. They're all 4 independently run and operated. So I'm the chief of Bantam, but we also have Litchfield Fire Department, East Litchfield Fire Department, Northfield Fire Company, and Litchfield Volunteer Ambulance. So we all work together, we all run together, but they're 4 separate operations, 4 chiefs, 4 budgets, which we can have a whole discussion just on that. But welcome to Connecticut, welcome to New England. So I started at the Bantam Fire Company when I was 13 years old, back before OSHA was kind of regulating it as much as they are today. So I started when I was 13. I just had a friend that was in the fire department. I was a kid that liked fire trucks, and I'm still a kid that won't grow up, anybody that knows me, but so I joined not knowing what it would lead to. I was the first generation, first one in my family to do it. And I got bit by the fire bug, and I got bit hard really early on, kind of did the junior officer thing and introduction to the fire service. And I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I got my EMT when I was 16, Fire One as soon as I turned 18, went to the University of New Haven, pursuing a bachelor's degree in fire science. And then, I had some awesome roommates, and we took every test that we could. And I worked part-time in the city of Ansonia on the ambulance. Like I said, just taking tests, taking classes. And I was fortunate enough to get hired in Stratford, Connecticut. Like I said, next to Bridgeport in 2011. So I've been there 12 and a half years now. I got promoted about 1.5 years ago. I'm a lieutenant, a company officer, and love everything about the job. I love the fire service. And I've been chief now in Bantam. Oh man, I think this is my 7th year. I got promoted. I was a lieutenant. I was training officer. I was captain for 3 years, which I think captain's the best position in the firehouse, but that's another. But then I stepped up into the role as a chief, and really has done well for me. I think it's been a challenge, but it's been a good time. Everybody asks me when I'm gonna move on, but I'm not ready yet, and I don't. I always say, like, when the department's ready to replace me, or there's somebody that wants to take the job, by all means. It's been good. I was a very young chief. I'm still a very young chief, but I think there's a lot of pros and cons to that we could talk about. And so that's my quick bio.
Nice. Now, we both agree that as a lieutenant in Stratford, it's difficult to contain the awesomeness coming off of Fred Mailer.
For sure. Yeah. 5-0 Freddie. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bantam, now you guys to become chief, like, here in Derby, we still do a test. Are you guys tested? Are you guys voted? Are you guys appointed?
No, we are small town, rural, all the way around. So you basically you have to become a lieutenant. You have to have 2 years in the company, and you're in firefighter 1 certification, basically. And then to be captain, you have to have served as first lieutenant, or actually any lieutenant, and then you can become captain. So and then to move up past that, again, you have to serve time in that rank. So really, to be eligible to be nominated to be voted on. So we still do the whole vote thing, and I understand there's a lot of negatives that go with that too. I'm fortunate in my company that I have a really good group of officers, and we really have a good thing going on. But I know that's not how it is in a lot of other places, and and maybe that stems into kind of the first talking point. But it's like I'm very familiar with the small town rural up here, and you know bigger departments, busier departments with a bigger candidate pool, you can afford to do a lot of those tests and stuff like that. Up here, or any small town rural, it is very difficult to do that. I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do. It's just, like I have departments that are around me that it's not that they don't want to do things like that. It's just they don't have the candidate pool, they don't have the knowledge or the experience, and or the people that are willing to do it. So it just kind of turns into, well, Farmer Joe is willing to step up and put the time in, so he gets elected chief, and
Now, how many members do you have in the company?
So 60 to 70. We actually have a really, really strong membership base. So we do about 400 EMS calls. We do BLS transport ambulance, and then we do about 250 fire calls a year. And we run the dual response thing. So 100 of those are running Bells to Litchfield. But I'm also really fortunate. So we protect the biggest natural lake in Connecticut. So we have Bantam Lake. So we have a marine program. We have 2 boats. One boat lives in the lake all year long. And then we have we're members of the Goshen dive team and the Region 5 dive team, and we're heavily involved with that. So we do a lot of water rescue stuff. We're on all the local task forces. We've really set ourselves up well that basically when there's something in the area, there's a good chance we're going. And that's kind of a little play on the shirt that I'm wearing, but say the word, get the bird. So obviously Bantam being a chicken, but basically a lot of people call us for a lot of different things, and it's good, but that's where that came from.
Bantam Lake. So I worked for a little while as a lake patrolman on the Lake Housatonic, and I remember the Lake Authority. There was Bantam, Candlewood, and Lake Housatonic Authority. And I thought it's a large lake. It's over 1,000 acres, if I remember correctly, or right about 1,000 acres.
Yeah, it's good size.
Yeah, and it's funny because we don't have the lake down here, but we have the rivers, obviously.
Yep.
And it's like I feel that's probably one of the areas that we spend the most time on.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you guys said, we have our boats that live there. And then for a little while, the city opened the boat ramp. They tried to publicly open the boat ramp at the old fire school. And it was amazing because when they opened that boat ramp to the public, where the 2 rivers met, the Housatonic and the Naugatuck,
Yep.
we were doing a call a weekend, if not 2, down on the lower river. And I don't think people realize how much time is spent on the water by the time.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost feast or famine, like anything in the fire service. So we don't do as many first due responses as Bantam Lake as you think, although we have to be prepared. Now, they have the state program. I would say it got busier post-COVID. I think as all the outdoor activities did. I mean, we've seen an increase in like the hiking rescues and stuff like that. People twisting ankles because we have all the nature preserves and White Memorial, and so we have a pretty diverse area as far as that goes. And I'm always here in Kent, go to the Appalachian Trail, and we've helped out there too. But the dive team thing, I mean, this past year was a little bit slower, but before that, I mean, we were going out. I think they were doing 12 activations a year. It's one of the busiest dive teams in the state, if not the busiest. I mean, to the point where we're going to Waterbury twice a year. We're going to Cheshire. We're going to Prospect. We've been to Derby. I'm on that very prolific call, murder, suicide. Bantam was there, and our divers were one of the first in the water. I mean, which is crazy to think about, Bantam to the valley, but as far as the dive team goes, but have dive team will travel. I mean, they were up in Millerton, New York last year. They pulled a 17-year-old kid out of the water, and I'm pretty proud of that we're going out of state and our guys are making the grab. I mean, so I'm very proud of that, but it's a whole nother animal. I mean, it's separately run, but like there's a huge time commitment, and there's the guys that love it. But if I could just run a basic fire department, my life would be so much easier because I'm trying to do fire, hazmat, just the normal stuff. Then I got a BLS ambulance on top of that. Then everybody wants to do the specialty dive and water rescue stuff. It's a lot of disciplines to try to be involved in, and be proficient at.
Right. And it's one of the things that I, have spent a long time trying to explain, and I'm sure you do too. It's a full-time job. I mean,
Yeah.
fortunately in Derby, the technical rescue side was handled by the ambulance corps. So we never had you know, obviously I was chief of the ambulance corps, and I had to handle it then. But like just the water requirements. I mean, we still have the boats, the ambulance corps, and the surface water last night. I know I'll probably record this, or I'll release this episode in a few weeks, but as of last night, we did our first of our, swim tests, and everyone went down to the city pool. And it's, I'm a scuba diver. I dove. We had our own dive team. We finally disbanded it. And the reason we disbanded it was it's just too much. And I hate to say it's too much for, what are we really doing? We're going down to get a body every once, twice a year. That's it.
Yeah.
And I give you guys a lot of credit, because it's a difficult resource to maintain.
Well, and I think that's where the regional thing really comes into play. And I've learned a lot as far as that goes, where they have their own rank structure and we support them financially and obviously with manpower and apparatus and all that. But I think it works. It works up here. I think it could work in other parts of the state too, where all these people want to have their own specialized units for everything and maybe don't have the population or the call volume to support it. I think there's creative ways to do it. It's worked pretty well for us. But yeah, I mean, it's right. It is a diminishing return thing. But what I look at it as, at least from my perspective, is it brings in people that are interested in that, and then maybe they cross train in other things, or it keeps people interested. I think people get bored. People have specific things that they like. I have a couple guys, he's actually one of my lieutenants, and then actually the guy that got me into the fire service, coincidentally, his last name is Fisher, but he loves, I mean, they are dive machines and they are awesome at it and they love it and they specialize in it and they're all into it. And there's probably 5 other people that are into being line tenders and stuff. And so who am I to stop them? Like, if they want to devote that and they want that to be their specialty, like, by all means. But they also, do the fire thing too. And, so we get people in the door now. And that was one of the things that we really had to be creative. And I think, again, good talking point, like, volunteer departments need to adapt with the times. I mean, we used to have the membership requirements. You had to live in town. That went out. Couldn't be a member of 2 departments. That went out. Now we have people that live out of town that are like, oh crap, I like what Bantam's got going on. I'm going to join and, do what I can and come to training. And, they may not be on the first due, but if we catch a fire, like, we have a deep bullpen and they're going to show up. And
I'll tell you, that's something I had to teach myself, right? Like, as you know, and like you, I had a lineage, a background in fire service. I'm very into it. And that I could remember having to sit myself down and have that conversation in my mind, that there's a spot in this department for everybody.
100%.
And that because somebody wants to join and doesn't want, and again, this is where I guess you'd say you attract negative in the fire service, right? This is where you attract the negative when you bring in, like, exterior firefighters, and you start bringing in these classifications of driver only, exterior firefighter. We had members who joined that just wanted to do rehab, and hey, when there's a fire, we'll come and we'll bring the drinks and we'll bring coolers and we'll do all that. But in a volunteer service, you have to embrace those people and you have to use them.
And I think a lot of places and a lot of people fall short with that because, but the same thing is true. Like, we all have interior firefighters. I don't care if it's career, volunteer, big town, small town, that shouldn't be there, but yet they're there. And they're there because they're there collecting the paycheck, or, and following the contract, or they're there because they're volunteer and they want to be there and they want to wear the shirt. And so I think we have to maximize our return on those people the best we can, and get them to buy into the department and use them for whatever asset they can be. Obviously we have the EMS and the dive, and so we do have the people that specialize in that stuff, and I'm all for it. And I mean, the driver thing, same thing, exterior thing, because it may be a gateway drug to something else. They may start like that, and then they may, I want to go take fire one, I want to go take dive or whatever. But you need that deep bullpen because you never know who's around or when they're around, and so yeah, I think you have to embrace that. Now, listen, if you have 80 guys and they're all fire too, and they're all chomping at the bit to be firemen, then yeah, okay, it's a different conversation. But I think very few towns have that luxury, and and then especially in the rural small town environment, like you can't turn those people away as long as they're not toxic people and creating a problem. Like if they're there and they have a good attitude and they're willing to learn, you have to embrace them for whatever they can because they're your people and they're wearing your shirt, and you owe it to them and they owe it to to the community to do the best that they can. And yeah, it's not always good. I mean, yeah, you have to educate the people and you have to have the difficult conversations with them when they aren't performing to that level, but you have to try to bring them up. It's easy, like I always say this, even when you get a problem person, I think that the philosophy is the same. When you have a difficult person or maybe not performing as well, it's real easy to just wash your hands with them and throw them away. But then that could create a toxic environment too. It's catch 22. And so if you can invest maybe a little bit of time in them and make them a better firefighter, EMS person, driver, when you name it, maybe it's worth putting that extra time in them and keeping them around than just washing your hands with them and throwing them away.
Yeah, because again, I mean, and it's amazing. Like you have people come and join, and you don't know what they do, you don't know what they know, and you're working on some like random project, and they pop up, and it's like, oh, that's what I do for a living on the outside, or that's and you're like, whoa, like
Well,
where did this guy come from?
and I'll say like we're not the most tactically perfect. I mean, we're doing some awesome training lately, which is what we need and what's good. But like we're not like everybody doesn't have every cert in the book, you know what I mean?
Right.
But what I say is we're like, you got the carpenter, we got like 5 guys that work for Eversource, the power company. We've got public works guys, we got guys that drive trucks. We've had a professional pilot. We've got, you name it, DEP, like, parks maintainer, like nurses, like people from all walks of life, and everybody has something to offer in their own way. And like I learned to drive a fire truck from a guy that drove a cement mixer for O&G, like for 30 years. So like, hey, use your Jake brake, stay off your brake. Like to me, that was invaluable because he taught me how to drive a truck, not a fire truck. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And you got
And
like,
that's
or the mechanic that works on cars every day. Hey kid, like the nader bolts here, the batteries here, like things that you don't need a firefighter to or the rescue certification to know some of these things, that they just have these life skills because that's what they do every day. And I think you have to embrace that in the fire service as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit where the fire service gets like, don't get me wrong, most of us career guys, we have a side gig. I mean, a lot of guys this time of year, right? How many guys are delivering oil? How many guys are delivering propane
Yeah, plowing.
right, plowing, but like when you get the volunteer side, I just did this special on the river restaurant explosion. And one of the things I talked about was those guys for untrained technical rescue back in the 80s, they pulled that off because they all were tradesmen. They all worked in the factories, they all worked for environmental companies, they all worked construction jobs. So that their ability, even at work, within the past couple of years, I was working the safety. We had a fire in a garbage collection facility, and one of our guys used to work driving a payloader, and we got in the payloader, started pulling the giant garbage pile apart. It's those little skills that people have from the outside that they bring in. I can remember during the latex foam fire. I'm sure you remember. You've heard of that once or twice.
Oh yeah.
The guys that volunteered for the Derby and Sonia area, that's when we had our own water company. The Valley had its own, the Birmingham Utilities. Those guys got pulled out of fighting the fire, went to the command post because they knew the water system. Like they could tell you where to start drawing water from. And it's again, it's like that stuff that you don't have other places. We're lucky right now. Our fire commissioner, he's a structural collapse technician. He's an engineer with the Mass USAR team. And it's like you have a car drive into a building, who better to have than the guy, an engineer? I mean, even nowadays, you look, how many of your guys are cops? You have incidents, bomb threats, active shooter threats, things like that. These guys are now, they're your go-to guy.
Yeah, well, and I'll take it one back. Like, so I started when I was 13. Like I said, I had no background in it, but my mom's been a nurse for going on almost 40 years at a couple different hospitals, and she's actually going to retire this year. God bless her. But like, So I did it, but like when I was taking EMT, she was all into it because I was learning something in the medical field. So she was quizzing me and stuff like that. And the funny part is, she's like, well, what did you do on this call? I'm like, oh, I put them on 15 liters an hour breather. She's like, they don't need that, because in the nursing field, they don't do that. I'm like, Mom, that's what we do. That's what the textbook says. That's what I'm being taught. Like, that's what EMS does. Well, when the kids went off to college, me and my brother, and we got lives, she needed something to do. And she's like, and then I don't remember if it was captain, but like I had come back into the area. I moved away for a couple of years, lived in the valley, and back when we weren't working 24/72s and I wasn't married, but I always had ambitions to get back up to the area. So anyway, we moved back to the area by the house, and she's like, "Oh, Ryan, I want to ask you because it's your place basically, like it's your thing, but like, would you be okay with me joining the fire department and doing EMS?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that'd be great." So she joined, got her EMT, even though she's been a registered nurse for 30 something years at the time, learned all that, and she really learned that it's a completely different field, different world, and then boom, fell into it, like knocked it out of the park. And now she does all the PCR reviews and is on the EMS committee. And now she was the secretary and now she's the treasurer for the company. And so, but like, doesn't have that much EMT experience in the grand scheme of things, less than 10 years, but has a lifetime of medical experience and knows how to do charts and reports and now has fallen into that role. So and same thing, we have she's becoming a PA right now, another female EMT that we have. And so, yeah, you have to embrace those people because they have a lot to bring to the table, even if like they don't have 30 years of EMS experience.
Yeah, and again, the advantage of the volunteer fire service is that there's a spot for everybody. And it's and I think in recruiting, we fail to mention that a lot. When we recruit, right, when we're out there, because that's a big thing now, let's go recruit, and you're out there, you're putting your signs in everyone's lawn, we need firefighters. Maybe that's a message we need to shift. We need members, we need drivers, we need people that, could help with the non, we need people to do this. And maybe those people are freeing up firefighters. And that might be that might be their benefit, is that, by somebody saying, hey, I'm not going to be a firefighter, but teach me all about how to do the paperwork, how to do all this. It'll free up somebody else to do more important things.
And that's something I think you used to just stop in, fill out the application, and then, we'll contact you when you get voted in or whatever. Now, I mean, through the power of social media, like if you use it right, it's such a powerful tool to get to people because they see it and whatever. That's pretty obvious, but like, even once they send you a message. So like my buddy, I didn't know the guy, but he sent a message to the Facebook page, lived in town. Hey man, I've always thought about being a fireman. My grandfather was a fireman in New Jersey, but I'm a professional pilot. I'm a private pilot. My schedule is crazy, like, but I want to be involved, like just throwing it out there. And I was like, hey man, that sounds great. Like, why don't you come and do an interview with me? Come up, meet me at my office. I'll give you a tour. Like, I try to do that with these type of people that are coming in and show them all the cool stuff and the stuff that we get to do and all the toys and work with them and say, hey, listen, like, hey, I can't do fire one, but what can I do? Well, like, you can still do a lot of exterior stuff. You could do boat stuff. You can do, all this stuff. And I basically in-house taught him how to be an interior firefighter. Like, is it by the book? Is it correct? Well, I guess it depends on your definition of correct. But like, the dude was such an asset, and unfortunately, moved away. He still lives in the state, but moved away due to, getting married and stuff like that. But like, was a phenomenal asset, great guy. He still runs our website, because he's very good with technology. So he said, hey, I'll build you a new website. And he still is our webmaster because he wants to continue to give back to the department and maintain that link. But that case in point, like, you could have easily been like, sorry, man, you got to have Fire One to be a member, and you're not going to be able to do it. So see you later. Bye. Right. You can't beg for people and then like make them jump through these crazy hoops. Like, you got to get them in the door. And I think that's where the system fails. Like the whole Fire One and Fire Two, like, as important as training is, it just keeps getting longer and longer and more monotonous for people. And, I always say, I almost wish we would go back to like the Fire One, Fire Two, Fire Three thing, where like Fire One, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that disagree with me, but like, for the volunteer, like, get them in the door, send them for like a month, a couple nights a week to learn how to roll a hose and do the basics so they can at least become an asset on like 75% of the calls you do. And then, send them for another month, maybe a year later to go get their interior certification. And that, like, I know it's maybe not the most like streamlined way of doing it, but like, it's really, that's the problem is getting these people in. Oh, you're gonna have to go to school for 3 months, 3 days a week. It's gonna cost $1,100 now, and it's just it's not doing us any favors either.
No, it's a process, and that's what you gotta, again, coming right in the door, you gotta say to someone, look, it's gonna be tedious. It's gonna be a process. So join. Let's give you some gear, teach you how to hit a hydrant, get you a couple skills down that you can kind of help out and see if you like it, and then in a few months, let's make the determination if we're gonna go. But
Put
Ryan,
them
I
on
like
the
to.
big. Yep, go ahead.
I like, me, I like to keep the episodes around 25 minutes, 25 minutes. So we hit that mark. And,
Oh, geez, okay.
Yeah, it's quick, right? It's like,
I know,
whoa,
I
we're
can
done,
tell.
So, but obviously, let's say to be continued. We were going down a
Yeah, I
good
don't even
path.
think we got to talk about what we said.
And that's what, but that's the
about.
fun part, it's about that. So,
Yeah, part
Ryan,
two will be some small towns playing big.
that's it. But I thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have anything you want to say in closing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the fire service out there in general, but specifically the volunteer fire service, like put the time. It's the best thing in the world. It really is. If you can get past, the tediousness of it, and never stop learning. I think it's a cliche quote, but like the day you think you don't need to learn in the fire service is the day you probably need to leave the fire service. Somebody told me that like the way back in Fire One, and please keep learning. If anybody local or anybody wants to reach out to me and pick my brain or whatever I can offer you, and networking is huge. So I've learned so much from other people, and hopefully I can teach some people stuff as well. So find me on social media or whatever, send me a message, and I'd be more than happy to help out wherever I can. And again, thanks for having me, and hopefully we'll talk again.
All right. Thanks, fans of the Volley Chief. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe. Help me keep the monster of social media moving in my favor. And as a reminder, we have the Ambulance Driver 5K coming up on July 10th. It's the 75th anniversary of the Storm Ambulance Corps. So it's at Bad Sons Brewery. It's going to start and end at a brewery. So what better place to put a bunch of firemen? And thank you, everyone. Have a great night. FD1's back in service. Commands terminated.